Hi, I'm sitting here at the Board of Supervisors meeting once again as the NGO brings up the policy that they want to pass, giving your taxpayer dollars to basically dox and follow ICE around. There's some other provisions in there, but the bottom line is it breaks federal law. I just ran into Michael Koslow, Congressional candidate. Michael, why are you here today?
First and foremost, Lori, and thank you for having me on today. One of the key elements of this whole discussion today rides on the illegality of individuals supporting, from a fiscal irresponsible perspective, potentially for those that are supporting this measure on the Board of Supervisors, to support a legal defense fund. And that legal defense fund goes against the grain of everything in my 31 years as a federal law enforcement agent and being able to support the laws and the Constitution in this great country. It is illegal, it's inappropriate, it's immoral.
Well, the other side keeps bringing up the Constitution, yet they're ignoring the supremacy clause. They're ignoring expedited removal. They're ignoring the Aliens Enemies Act. So what are your thoughts on their argument that people's constitutional rights are being violated?
Unquestionably not. They came here illegally, first and foremost. The fact that they are here illegal, I can't tell you how many times I would sit in the courtroom either as an expert witness or sitting on counsel's table talking about prosecuting individuals that had broken federal law. Those individuals made that conscious decision to break that law. By coming across the border illegally, they broke the law. So ultimately, there is a due process for that, for immediate or imminent removal and deportation. But the fact is that the fact remains, they are illegal immigrants and they are in this country illegally. And the force of the laws and the Constitution of this great country stand as they are, and they will be removed and applied to them in the fullest extent.
Now, I also would like to bring up why California Democrat policy has hurt these people. Number one, we have SB 54, which does not allow local law enforcement to work with ICE. The problem with that is they have pushed ICE into the community. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that SB 54 should be amended or repealed?
No, I think SB 54 should be omitted completely. It should have never been put into play in the state of California. And the reason being is ultimately I've seen collaboration between law enforcement agencies at the local level, the state level, and the federal level many times over to get the job done, to identify illegal individuals and prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law where justified. What we're doing with SB 54 right now is we're forcing a schism and a divisive environment between local law enforcement and federal law enforcement. ICE has no other choice but to go into those particular areas because SB 54, even though local law enforcement may have a desire, and I know many of us, the local law enforcement, the sheriffs, the local chiefs of police, want to be able to help each other in the event. We saw what happened at Glass House not too long ago.
Yes.
And at Glass House, we saw individuals shooting at officers. We saw them throwing things, and they had a rapid response opportunity through 805 to come in there and notify them, say, hey, look, something's going on with ICE. We want you all there. It's disruptive, it's obstructive, and they should be prosecuted as well. But the point being, SB 54 should be done away with. It undermines the rule of law and the efficiency of law enforcement with limited resources to effectively work together.
And let's talk about that for a moment, because that's part of this proposal here at this Board of Supervisors meeting. These guys, the NGO and DocuFund, basically did put together in their presentation that they have a call center, that people could dox and follow ICE around, and then they report ICE activity to other people. What federal laws do those break? And do you know what penalties people could face if they're found guilty of doing such a thing?
Good question, Corey. First and foremost, aiding and abetting, 18 U.S.C. 2. Also, obstruction of justice. That's another one, because clearly our law enforcement officials with ICE are out there with a definitive, court-approved purpose and a warrant, a standing warrant by a federal judge or magistrate to enact typically an arrest of somebody for being here illegally, or the fact that there's trafficking going on, that they're harboring minors that we talk about all the time. They're breaking the law, and more importantly, acts in furtherance of a conspiracy to commit a federal violation. Those are the three big ones that I see right now.
Right now, with the Ice House Farm, you have to remember as well, you have to be 21 years old to work at a marijuana grow farm or a dispensary. It's kind of like saying we found children that were trafficked into our country working at a bar or working at Hooters, being the bartender. It's not allowed, it's against the law. Not to mention, in the presentation that UndocuFund gave, they stated in their presentation that these children were with their parents. The legal definition of a UAC is an unaccompanied minor which crossed our border without parent. So, number one, you don't get your hands on a trafficked child without the cartels. Most of the undocumented immigrants that are, and I'm going to say illegal aliens, sorry, taking my words back, that came into the country during the Biden administration owe the cartels from $13,000 to $18,000, which basically makes them human slaves in our nation. What are your thoughts on that, Mike?
No, nothing short of indentured servitude. That's really, we're going back to a feudalistic society. It's crime lords, crime organizations that are dictating policy in this country right now. We've got to take it back. We've got to be able to take accountability for the fact that the last 4 years in the previous administration had undermined the rule of law. There's no way around that. And what we're seeing, especially if we could talk about AB 495 right now, as far as that anybody can technically come to a school and sign out a minor.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of complexities to that, but that's basically what the rule and what these individuals in the assembly, the current assembly, I might add, that we have to be able to get back that supermajority and take it away from them, back in our California assembly, to be able to make sure that we have common sense rule of law back in place again, and that people are held accountable to that rule.
It's crazy what's going on here. You know, I think about what happened. Joe Biden entered us into what's called the Global Compact of Migration. 170 nations entered our border during the Biden administration. 350,000 children were trafficked into our nation. And to top it off, speaking to Oscar Blue, who lives in Tijuana, they are now finding extermination camps. These people on the other side want to talk about compassion. Where is their compassion for the 8-year-old that is currently being raped and sold over and over and over again? Mike, what would you say to the other side that is obviously very emotional about things, so driven in with cognitive dissonance that they are unwilling to even have compassion for a trafficked child?
I'd have to say it's just disgusting and sickening to me, Lori.
Yeah.
You know, for those of us that have children, grandchildren, in my case, even great-grandchildren, it's absolutely horrendous and unacceptable that the previous administration allowed these children to come in here. We were trafficking children as a sponsored United States government activity through HHS that had oversight over this entire process, and there should be accountabilities. Now we're trying to go ahead and bring it back. And I know that this administration, the Trump administration, is doing everything it feasibly can to make sure that we are identifying all those children, those 350K that we're talking about, to make sure that we can identify them, know where they are, who are the guardians that sign for them, track them, find them, and make sure those children. That's why the ICE is going into the schools, because they've tracked those children, some of those children, into those schools. They're not going in there to conduct raids. They're going in there to determine and ascertain the status of those young children. And for those are the ones that we can find. So there's still so many out there that have been taken advantage of, abused, molested, and we've got to do everything we can as the humanity of this country and what we stand for to make sure that we're doing what we can to make sure those children are taken care of.
Now, one thing I want to bring up, all of these people that are on the other side that are here were silent during the invasion. They said nothing. They said the border was secure. And understand, we wouldn't be in this mess if not for the Biden administration. People would be living their lives as they always had. Although I do not like people having to live in the shadows. So if you want change, number one, Congress is huge. We need to change the law. The state assembly here in California, we can no longer have the supermajority that pushes through nonsense that actually we could solve these people's issue if we didn't have this Democrat supermajority. Now, one thing, and it's our last thing, that I noticed being here is that a lot of these elected officials that are speaking out are Democrats, number one, but they were also silent when the invasion happened. And the Trump derangement syndrome is just off the charts. What are your thoughts about these electeds that in their cities have already passed these incredibly illegal ordinances?
Constitutional law, whether it's at the federal level or the state level, they have a fiscal responsibility for the taxpayers' money. And what this is essentially doing, in my personal opinion, is that it's taking taxpayer money, abusing it, and allowing it to be used in an unlawful manner. Also, the fact that there are already services that are available right now, such as the Public Defender's Office, to facilitate that transition to an immigration court or an immigration judge. So why give more money to something else that is usually handled very adeptly, I might add, in most cases, through non-government offices and nonprofits that are set up for that kind of thing. So I think that what we need to do, and I think we've done it here today, is talk about those things that from a common sense perspective for these Board of Supervisors to take into consideration when they vote as to whether or not to allow an illegal immigrant defense legal fund. That is unconstitutional in my personal opinion. It is aiding and abetting, it is obstruction of justice, and it's also conspiracy and furtherance of conspiratorial acts. So I think our supervisors are going to vote no on this. It's my hope that they vote no on this, and it's the right thing to do.
And if they don't, I hate to say it, we will have a report going to the U.S. Attorney, and we need to follow the law. As everybody always says, no one is above the law. Thanks so much, Mike.
My pleasure, and thank you so much for having me today.
Okay. All right, guys, stay tuned. We'll get some more reporting done, and we will keep you posted on what happens with this act.